everybody. Hope everybody's staying warm. My desk is on an outside wall, so I'm going to be blowing on my hands every once in a while. I do believe that we have a quorum. Let's see. With only 8 members, is 4 a quorum?
I believe
Okay.
we have 5 here with
5.
us.
Okay. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4. One more. Here's Gabe. Okay. Wait for him to come on camera. Gabe, are you there?
Oh, yeah, sorry. My audio was syncing. Present.
Okay. Okay, since we have 5 of us, I will call the January 21st, 2025 meeting of the Akron Tree Commission to order. Call the roll, please.
Sure. Viviano, here. Forte,
Here.
Busco, Lash, Ricciuti,
Here.
Robinson,
Here.
Bradenberg,
Here.
and Wyatt.
Here.
We do have a quorum.
Fabulous. And I won't do what I did the last meeting. Has everybody had a chance to read the minutes from the last meeting? Are there any additions, corrections? Okay. So I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes as presented.
I'll make a motion to approve minutes.
Okay. Second?
Second,
Okay.
and I'll do a roll call.
Yep.
Viviano, aye. Forte,
Aye.
Ricciuti,
Aye.
Robinson,
Aye.
Bradenberg,
Aye.
and Wyatt.
Aye.
The motion
Okay.
to approve the minutes passes.
Okay, to unfinished business, first of all, I am very glad so many of us were able to attend the Tree Commission Academy last week. I found it very informative, and I'm hoping the knowledge that we have gained will improve our meetings and improve our functioning as a commission of the city. Any other comment from anybody who was there?
Yeah, this is Gabe. It was very insightful. It was a pretty solid 2 days. It was one that I was thinking, at the start, particularly within that first hour, this might be a long 2 days, and then it just completely changed my perception and perspective. It went by very quickly. Even though it had quite a few lectures, it was something that I found very, very interesting and got a lot out of it, and time went by very quickly. So
Yeah.
hadn't really outside of maybe, some volunteer work that I've done a couple of years ago, I haven't really had that type of experience since my college days. So it was really, really nice. And I think that it's an opportunity that if other individuals can do in the future should do.
Yes, great. Thanks, Gabe. And I will just comment that Gabe was one of the major questioners while we were there, so he helped teach a lot of us. Okay, on to unfinished business. We've got public education strategy, and I want to thank both Casey and Jackie for your emails. I'm hopeful the rest of you got them. Casey basically said that we would want to focus on a couple of events. I mean, we know Arbor Day, that's always been on our agenda. That is actually part of being a tree commission. And also that Casey suggested revisiting the Memorial Tree Program or another tree recognition program. And I know that the city has a heritage tree designation that we may, a heritage tree corridor that we may want to look at. And Jackie talked about, and we all remember when Keep Akron Beautiful held the Arbor Day celebrations and hasn't done that for the last couple of years, but we have taken that on. So, but I think her one mention about tree plantings in schools that are in traditionally redlined areas. I know tree equity was one of the big topics at last week's Academy. We spent a lot of time talking about that and possible remedies. This is one possible remedy. And Jackie, just so you know, council members and the mayor are always invited. They don't always show up. So, and we talked about a brochure, you know, the five of us did a brochure about a year ago, and almost immediately it became obsolete. But she suggested perhaps a postcard or something that can go in water bill inserts. And also lists tree resources for members of the community. You know, I think these are all fabulous things, and I'd like to throw that open for discussion. Anybody have any ideas? Postcards, Jackie, since you offered that as a suggestion, do you have some ideas?
Well, I was just thinking that we could, you know, do something maybe in the water bill, maybe not a postcard, maybe something we could put in the water bill. I've been thinking more about it to let the community know what we're trying to do. Share some tree resources with them. I don't know if that's something that is traditionally shared with Akronites, like if they have a problem with something or they need advice or resources. That would be kind of cool if we could do that, like in leading up to Arbor Day or maybe in April's utility bill as an insert. And the other thing that I mentioned was just maybe, like you said, planting some trees on Arbor Day. Keep Akron Beautiful planted some trees this fall with Akron Public Schools and some donated trees from graft growers. And there were definitely more schools than we had trees available. And so instead of just planting in a city park, maybe we could choose one of those locations and partner with the schools so that we could be educating some children on how to properly plant the tree. We could use the city team, the arborists that we have at the city to help do it, but at least there'd be an education component for the kids because, like I said, there was more groups of kids that wanted to participate than we were able to do at that time.
Okay. I know we had a thought to plant a tree at Firestone. This was, I think, last year, and then found out that the ground around Firestone High School is geothermal, piped for geothermal energy. So that didn't work, but definitely we will consult with the public schools.
So when we did it this fall, we worked with the science curriculum specialist and then building maintenance, and there was a contact there that helped us identify the correct schools, and they chose the locations at each individual school. So like where Firestone might not be a place that we could do it, they could tell us the schools in that area that could. But if we want to do something like that, we need to really maybe make that decision now or in February at the latest, because anything you do at the schools has to go in front of the school board, and we have to get that in front of them in order to be able to do the planting. So we're just
Okay.
trying to think ahead.
Okay. I'd be reluctant to vote on something that isn't defined. You know, I think plant several trees at as yet undetermined school locations, I don't think would be very good. But since you have the contact, would you like to call your contact at the schools and see what they say, and then bring it to the board next month?
And tell them we maybe want to do this, or we
Oh,
do
we
want
do
to.
want to do it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I don't know what, Matt, I don't even know if you have plans. Where's Matt? There he is. Do you have plans yet for where we plant on Arbor Day?
No, I was actually gonna get with some folks to plan Arbor Day, sometime in the next couple months.
Okay,
I'd like to plant for sure.
okay, definitely. So, you know, we've got the staff and the desire, and if we get the contacts, could you get with Jackie, Matt, perhaps, and coordinate that?
Yeah, yeah, I was thinking about doing that pretty soon because that's gonna come pretty quick. So
Yeah,
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 Matt, if you could just let me know like how much capacity we have, like how many trees we might be able to plant, and if we have the trees or if we need to find a donor for the trees, that would be the biggest thing. And then we can just, say we'd like to go to 2 schools or 4 schools or whatever, and then we
Mhm.
can bring it back to the board to vote on it. But I'd like to at least like get the wheels greased with Akron Public, because they need lead time to get it approved as well.
okay. How many trees are we gonna be planting? How many trees does Akron customarily plant on Arbor Day for the celebration?
Usually just one.
Right. That's so I was thinking just, our one tree, pop it in the ground. Um, yeah, I was gonna do that. That's all I had in mind.
Okay,
We'll be able to get the tree and I'll just find a location where we could host the celebration. I was gonna ask around to a bunch of different folks to find out like what the best place would be to celebrate it. I was gonna look into like the past couple places where we've celebrated Arbor Day.
I have a question
Yes.
or maybe a statement. I think with Jackie and the APS, if you get it and you start planning it, that they would be able to host a celebration and do all that. I retired from Akron Public Schools and we did a lot of events there. If you give them a heads up and you plan it, I don't think it'll be a problem. And they will probably even get the students involved, and we could just do a celebration there, whatever school we pick, if we're just doing one. But I think what needs to happen is it needs to probably start getting planned now, and maybe we should put it on our agenda for unfinished and maybe make that be the Arbor celebration and what we do for our Arbor celebration.
Yep. So more or less like we've done every year previous. Is there an interest in planting more than one tree? Jackie, it sounded like you were assuming we'd be planting more than one. But I'm not.
We don't have to. I just said in my messaging that we used to plant trees at 3 schools for Arbor Day when Keep Akron Beautiful was involved, when we had our curriculum program, which we are bringing back to the schools starting next year. It's just taking us a little bit longer to get the curriculum back up to life for the decade that we're in. It was very old curriculum. But so we used to do that, and we used to invite um, all of city council or whoever's ward it was in, and the mayor used to come to one of the schools. So they had like a slogan contest in the past, and we picked 3 schools that would be like the winners. And I just know from our past um, mayors that it was something that they really enjoyed, just in their like exit interviews or things that we talked about at the end of the transitions, but also that the kids really enjoyed that. So the classes would come out, the mayor would be there, we would talk about trees, we would talk about how to plant a tree. I guess that would be you that would do that, show them how to plant a tree and get them involved. But it would just be something that has like a little more meaning than just putting a tree in the ground at a park and being done in 15 minutes.
Yeah, so maybe we do something like that this year. Rather than just one tree, we do something more like what you're describing. So I'm
Be
interested.
fabulous. That'd be fabulous.
Yeah.
Jeff, did you have something? You raised your hand. I mean, you were part of that for many years, so, and I think the kids loved it.
Absolutely. It's a brilliant idea. And this partnership, it would just be a nice event. I like the idea of doing 4. I don't know if we have the capacity for 4 or not. North, south, east, and west. I love that idea. The education piece is so important. It really is. And it's time, Jackie, whatever we can do to help, please let us know. But to get that back into the schools, that's what we're about. And so this is a great mission.
Yes,
Jeff mentioned 4. I know Arbor Day is one day, but can we start it on Arbor Day and continue it on to like the next day and maybe do a 2-day thing? And I would say if you want to do 4, do an afternoon, a morning one. That would, for 4 schools, do a morning and an afternoon session.
Yeah. Well, I think the word person, yeah. However, I don't know those logistics. However, whatever is easiest for everyone, I believe, would be the best. Even 2 days would be fine. Whatever logistically is best. But the mayor, I'm certain that he probably couldn't make all 4, but if he could make 1, and the ward council person, we could encourage them to go to those events. And no, I think it's a great opportunity. And it's something perhaps that we definitely need to pursue. And I'm sure. I'm sure Casey's thinking probably the same way we are in terms of just push it out on the social media, just the whole thing. I think that would be cool. Great idea.
just a minute, Patricia. Brittany, you wanted to say something?
I just wanted to ask, do we have any high schools that maybe have a focus on A&M, or like agriculture, environmental? I know some technical schools. I have some nieces that are graduating seniors, always looking for volunteer hours that would love to help and even educate if they maybe had some prior education to Arbor Day, to educating other volunteers and maybe smaller children. I know when I was a member of AmeriCorps, we participated in something similar for Make a Difference Day, which usually happens on Martin Luther King Jr. Day. So we've missed that opportunity, but I think this is a great idea. I do raise the question about maybe staggering the dates or the times, because obviously you have 4 different stops, with, I guess, who will be covering each area. There's only so many of us, and how many of us would need to be, I guess, maybe at each school, or helping out in that sort of thing.
Okay. Patricia.
I was gonna say, in lines with Brittany, maybe we can do an elementary, middle school, high school, and a STEM school, or one of the performing arts, Miller South, so that everybody can be involved. So it's just not one grade level, but all schools, elementary, middle school, high school, and a STEM or Miller South, one of those type, if possible. I mean, I think that would be great so that way everybody would be able to experience it.
Fabulous. I think those are all great ideas. Anybody else have other ideas? One of the things that I was thinking of, to give a little bit more emphasis on trees in general, since Arbor Day is in April. I'm not exactly sure the exact date. Jackie, do you know that?
I think it's the 22nd.
Okay.
When I Googled it, it says April 25th.
25th. Okay, it's a Friday. The 22nd is Earth Day. They're both the same
Okay.
week.
Okay, and this might not be a bad thought. We'd have to get the mayor involved. Jeff, I'll let you handle that part of it, but declare April Akron Tree Month, and over the next couple of months, we develop some material so we could send out social media. We do this, and if we're going to plant trees for different, places, pick, one place the first week, another place the second week. The third week would be Arbor Day and Earth Day, so we plan kind of a little bigger celebration there, and then the fourth one, the last week of April. How does that sit with folks?
I like the idea.
I
think-
like it.
Yeah, I think that KAB, I know with their mission, with what they're doing, in terms of plantings and when those could occur. And then Jessica, up there at the water distribution and her program, what's going on there, and those opportunities, even throughout the summer, or maybe not summer. I know there's only certain times whenever it's supposed to plant. That's about all I know, other than what I learned last week. But in all sincerity, I think that would be a good opportunity too, to just say, hey, this is what's going on. If you want to help out, this is where you go. And this is what, for April, right? Does that fit, Jackie?
Yeah.
Reasonable?
It's spring, trees are coming out in leaf, it's Earth Day, it's Arbor Day, it's just, I think a good synchronicity. So one of the things that I was reviewing, and Jackie, you mentioned the celebration that you had a couple of years ago. Does the tree commission have any kind of a budget? Francie, do you know anything about that?
I'm not aware of any budget.
No, we don't.
I'm not aware. Maybe Councilman Fusco could share.
No, we do not.
Thank you.
Okay,
Budget season's upon us, though. If we
yeah,
have a specific plan with a specific budget, we could try. But I think we need to be, specific with what our ask would be and how much it would cost to implement it.
yeah. That takes a little bit more thought than right here at this meeting. Maybe you and I can talk about that. When does the capital budget have to be approved?
I believe it by the middle of February, I think. Sarah probably has the date off the top of her head.
February 15th.
Yeah, always close, middle of February. And then the operating budget is gonna be forthcoming soon. Sarah, when does that have to be, the operating budget? When does that have to be approved by?
I believe that is March 31st.
Okay,
Yep.
okay. So we've got a lot on our plate. Jackie, you and Matt are going to get together. And Brittany, you and Patricia get together to see if we can designate some schools. I do want to emphasize our need to address tree equity. And so maybe find the schools in underserved areas. I don't think that would be too hard to find. Yeah, Jackie.
I don't think you should choose the schools where you want to plant the trees. I think we need to go to Akron Public Schools first and ask them where we can plant the trees. We can
Okay.
give them our specifics that we want, like different areas of the city, and that we would like potentially different grade levels, elementary, middle, high, whatever. But there are not every school could get a tree. That's what we found out this fall. So we did 4 plantings on the same day with elementary schools because we focused on working with the fourth graders. So some classes, the ambassadors came out, some the whole grade level came out, and we worked with the different groups. But building maintenance helped us select the schools. And we also designated that it could only be in a redlined, traditionally redlined area, like an area that really needs the trees. So
Okay.
then they selected 4 out of all the schools for us to choose. So I don't think we should go in choosing it because that's not really how they work.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine. So yes,
Sarah, I just, sorry, to help Brittany and Patricia, Matt, we have like the tree canopy, we have the old red line list of Akron, or alternatively from the last tree canopy study, which, you know, is outdated data now, but we probably have a list of like the top 10 or the bottom 10 neighborhoods for tree canopy. Jackie, would that be helpful? So when Brittany and Patricia kind of talk to APS about the possibilities, they have, you know, sort of a broad spectrum of these are the areas that are most in need.
Yeah, if you guys can share that, that's great. If you want to contact them, you can, or I can do it. Like I said, I have the 2 contacts that we used in the fall. Or I can send an email introduction and you guys can handle it. It's up to you. I just was bringing the idea forth. But I
yeah,
do think that we should hold on selecting any locations, that we should just tell them the neighborhoods we're interested in.
okay. Well, maybe you and Patricia and Brittany get together since you have the contact, and sort of figure that out, get the public schools to tell us where they want the trees. And then we'll go from there.
And then I guess the only other question for this group is like, do we have the trees or do we need to find someone to give them to us?
Matt? Do we have the trees?
No, we would have to purchase the trees if the city were to plant them. I don't think anybody would give us trees, but I might be wrong. I can ask around.
But they might keep Akron beautiful trees.
Maybe.
Yeah, I just wasn't sure. So like if we don't have a budget, sorry. If we don't have a budget, do we have a budget to buy these trees then, I guess, is my question.
Good question. Good question. Hi, Bill. Thank you. You're not really part of this meeting and we have to go into public session. Hold your thoughts, okay? Well, I guess we have to get with the service director's office people to find out how we could do that.
If there's not a budget for the trees, I guess who should we contact as far as maybe soliciting a donation? I know, Matt, you said you don't know if anyone is willing to give us trees, but it's worth a try. Is there a particular format that we should use if we are associating ourselves, obviously, with the city of Akron? We want to make sure that if we do ask, we're doing it in order, however that should be done. Or has the commission asked for donations like this before? We don't have to reinvent the wheel. If there's a format, we can certainly use that.
We are charting new waters, Brittany.
Okay.
Yeah.
I would guess no one's going to give the city a donation of trees, but they'll give them to keep Akron beautiful. So that's why I was asking the question.
Well, that's when I said, they might keep Akron beautiful trees. Who did you use Graphs before?
Graphs donated 4 trees to be planted in the fall. And I'm sure we could ask other local vendors too. In the past, when we did this program, when Jeff was involved many years ago, different landscaping companies or tree companies would donate each individual one. But that means that when we did this before, so like if I can't even think of names of tree companies at this moment, but like if Bartlett or somebody donated the tree, they would give us the whole experience. So it wouldn't be Matt planting the tree, then it would be like their company assisting us in planting the tree, which I don't know if that's a bad thing or not. Maybe the city could help dig the hole, or in this instance, Akron Public dug all the holes for us when we did it this fall. But I didn't know if that was the direction we would want to go or not, because usually they like to come and be the one to talk to the kids in partnership with us or whatever, but then they get a little publicity out of it and can take pictures or whatever too. So that would be something that would be beneficial for them if we were willing to go in that way. Or if the city has 1 to 3 trees that they're willing to use for the program, then Matt could do it.
So
It
I can
seems like
also talk to Bartlett and Davy and see if they're interested in donating a tree. I don't know if there's any other tree care companies y'all have in mind, but I'm in touch with Bartlett and Davy, so that'd be easy for me to do.
well, and the city has a contract with Davy about the tree canopy, so
Right.
that,
I'm talking to them almost every day.
yeah. So do you want
Naomi-
to talk to
Oh, go
them
ahead, I'm
about
sorry.
that before Jackie hits up some of her sources?
Yeah, for Bartlett and Davy, I can pretty easily get in contact with them.
And
Fabulous.
Davy does this all the time for other Keep America Beautiful affiliates too, Matt. So donating 3 trees or helping with the labor, I don't think that's a big ask at all. And if they can't necessarily donate it to the city, they have donated things to Keep Akron Beautiful in the past to use for city projects. So I don't think that would be an issue.
Okay. This is exciting. So we'll try and stay in touch with each other in the meantime, before our next meeting. So we have things that we can act on next month. Okay, anything else on the public education at this point? We've also taken care of Arbor Day, I think. Part of new
The only
business.
question that I had is we were talking about tree vendors. Petiti came to mind, and I don't know if we or anybody here has a relationship with them, but I was just thinking if we're looking for additional vendors on top of the ones that were said, that might be an avenue to pursue. But like I said, I don't know what people's relationships or dynamics are with them, so I'll just leave
We
it at that.
do. We have a relationship with them also, and they're also opening a new facility in Fairlawn, the Akron area, in mid-April. So they may want to they potentially could want to do the whole thing for PR. So who knows? But we'll start with maybe with Bartlett and Davy. If Matt has that connection, he can do that. And then if Matt, you want to just get back with me and see where that goes, then I have some ideas for, even if each of them wanted to do one, I have some ideas for the third, with Petiti being one of them.
Sounds good.
Hey,
Awesome.
fabulous.
Thank you for that.
Fabulous, fabulous. Okay, and second item was Friends of the Tree Commission. I'm assuming all the commission members got the opinion from the law department? That's kind of a non-issue.
Yeah,
Anyway.
I if I could, yeah, you're right. And I believe that I had a discussion with Pat Selman, who I've got a list in front of me of a couple people who are interested in the tree commission and joining. Unfortunately, we don't have capacity, and I don't know if that's, we would encourage them to participate in meetings, whatever we're doing, we'll keep their names. But Pat Selman, and he could speak maybe a little bit about SOSA, that organization, which has been around for a little bit. And they are environmental kind of nonprofit group, if you will. They have a lot of good firepower, and thinking we could perhaps, continue a relationship with them. And, I think for us as a tree commission to work with other groups, just like we're doing here, is just nothing but opportunities for us to support and complement nonprofits and groups that are out there doing the work and we can support them in whatever way we can. And I think, you know, guiding people in that direction and keeping that relationship with Pat and that group is a good thing, I think. So Pat, I don't know if you're on or not. If you want to make a comment or two, I'd welcome that.
Yeah, I went to their meeting last fall, I think. And it was good. It was about tree canopy. It was good stuff. So that's another educational opportunity for us who are able to get out there and do that. I know most people work for a living. So
Well, what, Madam President, I can tell you is that I think this idea may work. We broached it. You and I spoke about it last week, I believe, in that I think in asking law department, they're going to look into it. The possibility of a perhaps like a committee structure for us. And, you know, we may have to do some work, but they're going to look at that. I think easily we could perhaps have an education committee. We could have a social media committee, possibly outreach, if you will, and maybe even like a legal committee. I don't know, but at least those two, I think, education as well as outreach, public outreach. And I'd like a third one because we have 9 members. We wouldn't want to have 2, and you know, you've got to be cautious about quorums and so on and so forth. So, but they're going to be looking at that, and I think something that we could consider down the road. I also like the idea of the possibility, depending upon, and it's just an idea, just throwing out an idea, but that would be, if we can in fact do that, maybe we meet every other month as the commission. However, conversely, perhaps the committees could meet, you know, every other month as well, or as needed. So just throwing out some ideas, but it seems as though the Friends of, it's going to be hard to pull that off, but I like the momentum that we have right now. And maybe this committee thing might be a good way for us to get some things launched and on its way. So that's where I'm at on that.
okay, well, as we all know, we are not a 9-member commission again yet. So we have to get that 9th member. So, but I think that is a good idea. And maybe we just now flop onto new business. And you know, the Tree Commission Academy, we've been doing a lot of idea sharing, and we've been talking about a training session for everybody, because there's a lot of stuff that we learned at the Tree Academy. There's a lot of stuff that falls to a tree commission that, you know, maybe some of us aren't as up to speed on. And I think we need to set that time aside as training, not as a public meeting, so that we can get that knowledge, you know, exchange more ideas, and so get ourselves, and that might be where we set up the committee structure. Although I don't know if that falls into, you know, official business, so maybe we wait until March on that. And I'm going to ask John and Rebecca, are you there?
Yes, I am here.
Okay. So as we're talking about the training, you know, I want you to keep us on the straight and narrow. But if it's term training, it doesn't fall under public meetings, right?
I want to double check that before I tell you definitively, but I think we can continue exploring this.
We could be doing training again. It's not just like the termed training. It'd have to actually be just kind of relaying the knowledge and things like that were presented during the seminar that members went to. But if there is things like public deliberation or public business that's being conducted, we would have to do that in an open meeting.
Okay, no, we're not planning on doing that. And one of the things we can do is contact Joe Moglen from the State Forest Service, who's our contact with the Division of Urban Forestry. And he has said that he could be available to help us with that. And he's the one who really knows what he's talking about. So.
Yeah, we both supposed to. He's more than willing to do that. And I love the idea too of having Ron help us in a training, as well as Joe from TCA mentioned, and also perhaps our arborist can kind of give us an idea, especially for the newer ones, and to refresh those of us who've been around, maybe a couple comments about how we go about this planting often on Devil's other areas. I think that would be good information for all of us to have. That's a lot. It's going to be a lot right there altogether.
Okay. So since we all have the third Tuesday at 1:30 already set aside, I think that might be a good time for us to do that kind of education. I can get in touch with Joe and see what he says, if he's available. And for me, my preference would be, and I know this may be inconvenient, it would be nice if we could be together in the same room. I don't know if that's possible, but it's just nice to have face-to-face contact rather than face-to-screen contact. How do the rest of you feel about that? I mean, we could meet for lunch. First of all, is everybody able to do that?
Madam Chair, I have a question.
Yes.
When you mentioned training, what length of time are you looking at when you talk about a training module?
Well, probably 2 or 3 hours at least.
Okay. And my follow-up question to that is, are there any other alternative delivery methods that you have available versus those of us who are working during the day, taking maybe an entire afternoon off for this training? Is there any alternatives that will be made available to us?
I can't think of any other satisfactory other than screen. It's either person or screen. You don't think it's worth your time as a member of the tree commission to be with us?
You're asking me personally. I have no issues, but I'm asking for those of us who have to break away for 2 to 3 hours. I mean, I know that's going to be a task, during the work week. So that's why I'm asking if there are any alternative delivery methods. You could take it off in bite-sized chunks, but if that sacrifice has to be made, then it'll have to be made.
Seems like Saturday.
Are we open to a weekend day?
Sure.
I know Tuesday, like you said, we already have that time booked up, but we currently have just an hour. So if it's going to be 2 to 3 hours, we have to build out more time for that on a Tuesday anyway. I'm open to a weekend date. I'm open to either way, but I definitely appreciate the input and the concern of, having to take away time from work, especially at the beginning of the year, because it is a challenge sometimes.
Yeah. Okay.
Weekends will definitely be hard for me. I have 3 kids under 6. So doing a weekend is going to be hard, especially when we have a cleanup every single weekend in April.
Okay. Gotcha.
I have a question. This is the unofficial meeting?
Mm-hmm.
So will notes be taken? Can you give notes? I don't know. For
would
people
be
that
notes
cannot
you'd
make it.
take in any class.
Say that again.
You like notes you'd take in any class.
Okay, so can we forward the notes to the people that can't make it? This is what we talked about. Because I can't do weekends. Weekends are bad for me as well.
Yeah, okay. I wasn't thinking of somebody actually taking like minutes. That makes it fall over to the official side.
So can we do note taking, like have some note taking? If somebody is taking some notes, maybe we can forward it to the people that cannot. So maybe somebody can intentionally take some notes or something.
Here's
Unofficial.
Yeah, I am reluctant to bring it up, but I know that AI is a possibility. I think the city has some kind of note-taking capability, doesn't it? Electronic?
My understanding is we do not have a current AI policy that we are not supposed to be using AI.
Okay.
I also would defer to the law department if somebody did take official notes and shared it with the group. I believe that would make them a public record. But I would.
Well, it would just be a recording of the session. But then if we're not digital, then there's no way to record it. Yeah, Jackie.
Is there a way we could just do like a doodle or something? Like try to identify the best time for everybody who needs to be there, like pick the date as a group. Like where everyone can show their availability so that everyone can be there if it's just 2 hours.
Yeah, like throwing out like 3 or 4 prospective dates and then whatever has the most.
Yeah, or like 10, like
yeah,
like as many as we can so that like and schedule out. Like I don't think this is something we could host in the next, I mean, we might be able to 30 days, but maybe a little bit further out on scheduling. I feel like our calendars that Keep Akron Beautiful are like not as heavy if we schedule the meeting out. So like give people more time to plan for it.
Okay. Sarah, are you able to do that?
I can do that, but so that I'm understanding, we're not doing this in lieu of a regular meeting like originally discussed, because I think those are typically about an hour.
Well, I think one of the things we would have to do is, because we would need to publish this, is are we going to decide that we're going to have 6 public meetings per year instead of 12? Because, hello? We would do that and then we would schedule something else, a committee meeting, or in this case, our training. So it would be, because I know the minimum requirements for tree commissions are 6 public meetings a year. So, do we want to vote on that now?
So are you referring to what Jeff mentioned every other month? Is that what you're saying? Per se, 6 months. Okay, so can you do every other, and can you, I guess, because it's so hard for everybody to get a date, can you make it a training session and then I guess maybe, I don't know, what if it's a session, it has to be public, right? Is that right?
I tell you what, how about we just do this? I don't want to get a hiccup on just meeting together to be trained. I like the idea of just sending it out. Let's schedule a meeting for next month. We have work ahead of us. And if somebody can, we'll just try to get the best date and do the training. And we could talk at another time, I think, in reference to, if we want to meet, because we haven't even discussed really in detail or gotten information yet about the possibility of having committees. So right now I would submit that we should probably meet on a monthly basis until such time that we can get information about the possibility of having committees, not worry about that, just the issue at hand. And that issue at hand right now is, are we going to meet or not for training? Is it worth our while to have a training? I believe it is. And I thought that Sarah's going to send out some dates and that we should probably, if we're interested in this, we could go if we can make it. And if we can't, then, we can't. but I believe probably the majority can probably go, and we can talk with I don't know, but that I just think that's the issue at hand right now. It's just the training, and it's just training. I don't believe we have to advertise training. It's just people training us, especially the new folks and some of us older folks, especially like what's expected legally, the TCA, the fellow who gave us the training for the tree commission, he could perhaps give us a half hour or so. We can condense it into just an hour maybe if that's what everybody wants, if they're not going to have time. But I think maybe we'll try to make it maybe 2 hours. I don't know if that's okay or not, but I think we just need to schedule that and then do other things at other times, perhaps.
Yeah, I just had one other thought, and I know how people feel after a long day at work, but would an evening session work at all?
For me personally, it would work better. But yeah, I'll just leave it at that. I mean, like I'm obviously making myself available for this, but to some of the points that have kind of been mentioned previously, a number of us that are working professionals are taking leave for these meetings, and I have no problem, doing that. But it would be more beneficial, I think, for some of us if it was available maybe during some non-traditional, 8 to 4 hours.
Okay. Others?
I'm open, Sarah. I have a pretty busy schedule as well, but certainly with enough notice. And I think Sarah's going to throw out some dates and times. So I have no problem looking, through and seeing what I can make work. So I think the training will be beneficial, and I'm eager to learn more so that we can continue with the commission.
Okay, great. Jackie, you want to say something?
If we wanted to, could we just do it next month at the same time as the tree commission and then just extend it by a half hour, or I mean the meeting, or an hour? I don't know if everybody's calendars are already blocked for then, or because I know Sarah mentioned doing it during the same time. I just wasn't sure if that was available. If not February, then maybe March then.
Right. That was my suggestion, and I'm not sure if that wasn't conveyed clearly, but my suggestion was for next month, in lieu of a regular meeting, do a training session since we're already typically
Meeting at this
meeting
time.
at this
And if
time
we
for an
just
hour.
extended it a little bit, then we'd have our 2 hours or whatever.
Are you, those of you who have time constraints, are you able to extend it? Couple hours?
I don't
Yes.
know. I don't have an answer at this moment. At this time, I'll have to check with my employer, but if I can make it, I definitely will be there for that entire duration.
Okay.
Likewise,
Francie, how about you? Does that work?
likewise, I would have to check my schedule. I mean, it's fluid from day to day.
Okay.
Is this
Okay.
going to be in person?
We can't, I don't see how we can do it in
Okay.
2 hours with everybody having to gather someplace and, parking, and I would love to do that, but if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. Okay.
If you want to, this could be hosted at KAB. We have enough room for everybody in our conference room, and it's much easier to park there than it is at City Hall.
It's true.
Can
Yeah.
you do for the people that's in person and stream it, or have them come in like we're doing now if they can't make it in person?
Yeah, we probably can. Just put the Zoom on and let people listen in.
Yes.
I don't see why not.
Okay.
I just feel like if it's going to happen, we probably should do it sooner rather than later. We're trying to plan events and do other things as well. So
I agree. Who among us would be able to gather at Keep Akron Beautiful?
If you're not familiar, we're at 850 East Market Street in the city services building. And we have a lot where everyone can just pull in and park. There's no, you don't have to pay to park or park on the street or anything.
And that would be the 28th of January, correct? I mean, I'm sorry, February. We're talking about February.
Yeah.
February 18th. Well, maybe everybody could just get back to Sarah and let them know, because I know Gabe and Euphrancy said they weren't sure about the date and time, but could we let Sarah know in the next week?
Can Sarah send out, like she was going to do, like a notice if you could or not? I know she was going to throw out dates, but just send that date and see and get a response from everybody. Can we do it that way?
Sure.
Sure.
Okay.
Okay. Well, I'm hopeful that we will be able to get together face to face as much as possible. You know, we're going to have to do what we have with what we've got. But I think that's great, because we've got a lot to learn, and I know I had my eyes opened to some of the things, so I would like to make sure that all of our members are included. Okay, anything else on that? Okay, well, since we've already talked about Arbor Day, we are now moving into our fourth segment, public comment, and Bill Martin is with us. And here's your time to shine, Bill.
Thank you very much for having me here today, and it's been interesting to listen to everything you're doing. I don't think most people realize how complicated all this stuff is when you get down to the details of actually, getting something done.
Yeah.
Couple of just quick questions I had during the meeting. Under the public education, working with the schools. I was wondering how much these trees cost. I went to an Arbor Day last year that I was given a seedling for free that was about yay tall, which I don't imagine that seedling was real expensive. Now, I bought a tree myself for my backyard. I had a tree died, and that was like $300. So I'm not real sure just what are we talking about cost and size wise in terms of these planting trees at the schools or whatever. An idea which I'm sure has probably occurred to you, but as far as training in schools, maybe focus on distributing seedlings to the students to take home to their, plant in their own yards, with training on how to do that. Particularly if you're addressing red line areas where you need more trees. Work out a program where the students actually get involved and plant those neighborhoods that they live on. And I'm sure there's an awful lot of complications and ins and outs of doing that, but that was just an idea that occurred to me, and while I was waving my hands. As far as my public comment, I almost feel we might want to defer that. What I am concerned about for several years is the city public service department seems to not care too much about trees when they're doing sidewalk repairs. We had a situation 2 years ago, no, not 3 years, 2022 on Greenwood Avenue where I live. 3 big oak trees, they're, like 90 years old or something, were marked for destruction. They were going to be taken down for the purpose of repairing the sidewalks where those tree roots had heaved up the sidewalk slabs. So we petitioned the city to take a look at that, and we had just gone through the experience of the gas company coming and replacing all our gas lines, which ran right underneath the sidewalks. And they did the whole street, had to pull up lots of slabs, and they put the slabs back in such a way where they poured the concrete around the roots or up and over, just creative concrete pouring for sidewalks that they didn't have to remove a single tree to do that. And the sidewalks are, perfectly wheelchair accessible. I push my wife down them. It was like a win-win. Save the tree, fix the sidewalk at the same time. So, we pointed that out to the city, and that's what the city ended up doing. And I was hopeful that, okay, now everyone's seen the light that we can do this. But, what I see is no, it's really kind of business as usual. I applied to have my own sidewalk, one of the slabs, replaced, and got back a letter from the city engineers. It was checkmarked, tree must be removed to replace the sidewalk. And I'm pretty sure nobody even came out and looked. I mean, there's nothing wrong with my tree that I know of. And so had that experience, and then a neighbor up the street, he had 3 trees that were taken down, smaller ones, and all of his sidewalk replaced, plus a new driveway apron, which, if nothing else, that's very expensive. When I talked to him about it, he told me that, well, he'd called up to basically repair one slab, which had heaved up, and he was told that, well, we'll give you 15 feet of free sidewalk for every tree you remove. How many trees do you have? Well, he had 3 of them. So he ended up with the deluxe sidewalk and sidewalk apron and 3 less trees. And, it's telling me that story. It just, hurt my feelings. I thought, it doesn't have to be that way. And why do we continue to do that? So that's my concern.
Okay.
Now, let me just say before I go further is that, I'm really just now getting back to the city about my own problem, my own sidewalk. I kind of feel like maybe the fair thing is let them respond if, and then come back to you later and see, well, okay, just what do they have to say about it? Me working directly with the public service people.
Shall we ask our representative from the service department? Francia, does the city have a policy of tree removal or not tree removal in cases like this? Minor sidewalk repair?
Oh, yeah, actually, good afternoon, Mr. Martin. It sounds like in your particular situation, you mentioned that there was a tree, which was, I'm assuming, uprooting the sidewalk. And in many instances, our engineers do go out and they do investigate these matters before they take action. If they determine that the tree probably needs to be removed in order to correct the sidewalk issue, that is what the recommendation will be. That does not always happen, but if that's the determination, that's the determination in order to move forward. But if you have any questions, you can feel free to reach out to our office, and we we can actually have one of our engineers or the gentleman who actually oversees the sidewalk program give you a call and talk you through this conversation or this issue. So if you have a concern, feel free. You can even reach out to my office and we will be more than glad to discuss this with you.
Okay, appreciate that. And I will do that. Like I say, I've just gotten in touch with them responding to the letter, the estimate they sent me. So, you know, I assume I'll hear back from somebody about that.
I
And
am fairly aware of the issue you're talking about on Greenwood. So I've heard about this before.
yeah,
So we are familiar with it. And if you want to, you know, talk to someone, feel free to give me a call. I can give you my phone number offline and connect you to the individual who oversees the program.
that would be great. Um,
Let me ask this, does the city have a policy on what constitutes needing to take a tree down versus rearranging the sidewalk a little bit?
Right now, the city has no policy. And as far as I know, I'm probably the first person that goes out there to look at those sites, to take to, assess the tree for removal before the engineer comes out there to look at the sidewalk to decide which sidewalks need to be replaced, whether or not the tree is an issue, and then what repair method would be most cost effective. So over the past couple weeks, one of the main projects I've been working on is how to make the sidewalk replacement program more cost effective by implementing more repair methods and changing the petition that gets sent to the homeowner, which currently states that the tree shall be removed if you get your, that deluxe service you mentioned, Bill, with the 3 panels being replaced. There's no other option right now, which is very different from the way other cities are doing it that I've worked with in the past. So I'm currently trying to redesign our program and work with the engineers more closely in order to coordinate something where we can fix the sidewalks, but also preserve the trees.
well, hey, let me just say, I mean, you know, I live here, I see my tree, my sidewalk, I see everyone else's sidewalks, and mine is relatively minor compared to number of other sidewalk upheaval places in the neighborhood that have been repaired using alternative means, where where the emphasis is, how can we save this tree? I mean, there was a situation, I think it was last year, up in the corner of Greenwood, Elmdale, where really those sidewalks were badly heaved. And I was looking at that and thinking, well, this may be a case where the tree really does have to go. But, we talked to everyone involved, and the city, to its credit, did that repair. There's a very workable, usable, accessible contoured sidewalk, and that tree with its roots is still there. Now, mine can be done without removing the tree.
Okay.
Period. I'm not a engineer, but it's like common sense looking at it.
No, it's common
I can
sense
tell
to
you
say.
that. And certainly I know one solution is to just run the sidewalk, instead of a straight line, just curve around it where you need an easement from the homeowner to do. Well, I'm the homeowner, I'll give you an easement. So it's like, I just don't feel like emphasis is being given to, can we save the tree? Almost like I'd like to see it written in policy that trees will not be removed unless absolutely necessary for public safety. you know, the tree's dead or it's dying, you know, it's diseased. Um,
I'd like to
because,
see that as well. But
yeah,
I think the first step is to get the sentence removed from the petition that promises the tree removal to replace those slabs.
Yeah.
yeah,
And then one
I
day there
agree
may
with
be an
you on that,
ordinance.
yeah.
So that's my first step, you know, small steps. But my first step, I'm pushing to get that sentence removed from that petition. So I'm working with engineers more closely now over the past couple months. So we can get that to happen as soon as possible. And then I'm trying to open up our range of services for sidewalk repairs as well. Kind of like the easement you're talking about. They do something with flexible forms called a radial pour so that they can pour the sidewalk in a curve rather than go straight through the trunk.
Okay,
Um,
great.
I'm on it.
That's fabulous, Matt. I learned something new. And I hate to break this off, but we're going long. And I know there are people who actually do have to get back to their jobs. So if it's okay with everybody, last minute for the good of the order. Anybody have anything for the good of the order?
Motion to,
This has been a great meeting. Looking forward to our time together in learning next month. And thank you very much. And I am calling the meeting adjourned at 2:42.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.